Hello everyone, welcome back to my additional mathematics and mathematics channel. For today's video sharing, I will discuss a few questions on the most challenging topic in additional maths. Let's get started with the class. Have fun! Hi guys, today I would like to discuss a few questions that I think is quite popular in the coming exam. So let's see question 6 for the Penang trial exam paper. If you don't have the question, you can refer to the link. I actually attached the short URL for the question paper. You can click and have a look of the question paper. Now for this question is actually about the statistics. Okay, so you're asking to calculate the variance of the scores for both teams, and then hence you need to determine which teams is less consistent. State your reason. So now this is very popular in exam, so please take note. Variance, how to find variance? You have to take the data, you square, and then you plus, square plus, right, and then over the number of data and then minus the mean. Okay, the mean is 57.6 for orange. So if you calculate the variance, it is actually 136.24. So because the question is asking for variance, so you don't have to square root, okay, unless the question asking for standard deviation. Now we are going to find the variance for papaya, which is 90 square plus 72 square plus 55 square plus 42 square plus 80 square over 5 minus 67.8 square, which is mean. And then the variance for the papaya is actually stated there, so it's quite big, right, compared to the variance for the orange. So based on the data, okay, based on the variance, so we will conclude that the question is asking which team is less consistent, so we will choose the one with a bigger variance. It means that it is actually less consistent, right? Normally we will find the standard deviation, right? The smaller the standard deviation, the more consistent the data is. So you can apply to variance. The smaller the variance, the more consistent the data is. It means that the bigger the value of the variance, then the more less consistent, right, of the data is. So hence we can say papaya is less consistent because the variance is higher, right? Okay, can you see my handwriting? It's a bit okay, confused, right? So I read for you. Papaya is less consistent because the variance is bigger. Okay, now let's go to question number 13. Is given that the quadratic function, so fx equal to x squared minus 8x plus s squared. So the s is a constant. So you have to bear in mind that when you differentiate the constant, you will get 0. So 2x minus 8 plus 0, right? Because s is a number. So when you differentiate a number, of course you'll get 0, right? So then your dy dx will be 2x minus 8. And then the minimum value is 20. It means that when you say minimum means dy dx equal to 0. So then you have to find the x first. So the x is 4. So meaning that the minimum value is actually y value. Do you know that minimum value of the function is a y value? So that means the y is 20 is the lowest value. So hence we will substitute into the function. So the value of the function is 20, and then x is 4 square minus 8 times 4 plus the s square. So hence you solve the s you will get the answer, which is actually equivalent to negative 16 plus the x square is equal to the value given 20, so that means the s square is actually 36, right? 20 plus 16, so that means the s can be positive or negative 6. There are two values of x. Alright, so why we know there are two values of x from the question is understood that we need to answer, right? Values of x. So there are two constant values for s. So okay, this is one way you use differentiation. And another alternative way is you can use completing the square, right? I'm sure many of you may try to use completing the square, but I guess differentiation is better because it looks like easier compared to completing the square, right? So let's do completing the square. Fx equal to x squared, the a is 1, so it's okay, minus 8x. We have to plus what? Plus half of the b when a is 1, so that means negative 8 divided by 2, so you have to plus with a negative 4, right? Okay, so we plus with a negative 4. Alright, after you plus with a negative 4 square, you have to minus out negative 4 square, right? So finally you will get x minus 4 square minus negative 4 square plus s square. Be careful. So x minus 4 square is a perfect square after you completed the square, and this is actually minus 16 plus s square. So after you completed the square, this is actually vertex form, so you can read out the minimum point, which is 4, and the y minimum value is negative 16 plus s square. So you can get the s square because negative 16 plus s square is equal to 20, right? So finally you get the same answer, right? Let's discuss question 14. I will just focus on a few questions which I think is very important. So these are the questions that you need to focus to. So let's see this one. You are given y equal to 6x minus 8 minus 2x squared. So you are asking to express the function in vertex form with a perfect square plus a y value, right? So basically when you want to do completing the square, the a must be 1, so I have to factorize the negative 2, so x squared, the balance inside the bracket is minus 3x plus 4. Notice that the sign is opposite with the previous one after you factorize, so it's minus 3x plus 4. Okay, now that is a step 1, factorize, okay, so that the coefficient of the x squared is 1 in the bracket. Then step 2, you have to plus, okay, with the half of the b, remember, x squared minus 3x, then you have to plus with the b now is negative 3, right? Negative 3 over 2, right? And then minus out immediately, negative 3 over 2, right? Don't forget there is a square after you plus. So now I'm going to write negative 3 over 2. Alright, okay, so that is how you do completing the square. You need to follow the step. So it's 2, then x minus is a minus 3 over 2 square, and then minus 9 over 4, and then plus 4, and then you just close the bracket, and before that you have to expand, so it becomes 2 times with a perfect square x minus 3 over 2 squared. Let's simplify first. Is 4 minus 9 over 4, right? So let's press a calculator. You have 16 minus 9, so it's actually 7 over 4, right? Okay, 7 over 4. So now we are going to expand, so it's negative 2 times with the perfect square, alright, plus negative 2 times 7 over 4, right? So we will get the vertex form, negative 2, then bracket x minus 3 over 2 square, and then negative 2 times 7 over 4, you get minus 7/2, right? Okay, so let's double check, make sure we multiply the -2. Okay, but the perfect square, we just put the -2 beside the bracket. So this is called vertex form. From the vertex is actually turning point. We can read the turning point. So this is the N shape, right? So we have the maximum point. The turning point is actually, we can read out the turning point, which is 3/2, and the Y value is actually -7/2. So this is a vertex. Why we call vertex? Because it's actually at the higher point, so it will actually turn down, right? So it's a turning point, so it becomes the vertex, or we call it turning point. So when you actually sketch the quadratic function, right, so you get the vertex, and also you will get the axis of symmetry. So the axis of symmetry is just use an x component, x equal to 3/2. So meaning that when you draw an N shape, so you will get the curve like this, 3/2 and -7/2, right? So the turning point is happen at 3/2. So then you can write down the vertex as 3/2 and -7/2, and this is actually the turning point, right? So for N shape, we have the turning point, and for U shape also we have turning point. All right, and when you draw a line divided the curve into two equal balance sides, it will actually pass through the vertex or the turning point, and that equation is actually the axis of symmetry. Got it? So in fact, this is actually quadratic function. So you can actually find the turning point by using differentiation, or you can use completing the square. Now I will focus to this question because I actually knew that many students don't understand what it means by function maps onto itself. So let's say you're having a function. So for this function, actually it maps the object x into 3x plus 1/2. So if the object is 1, then the image will be 3 times 1 plus 1/2, which is 4/2. So it's actually 2. That means 1 is mapped to 2, which is not itself. If 1 maps onto itself, it should be 1 maps to 1, right? So okay, if 2, let's say we substitute 2, we'll get 3 times 2 plus 1/2. So you will get the answer, which is actually 7/2, which is not 2, which is not itself. So now we actually want to find out what actually is the value of x that will actually bring or give the image also the same with the object, which is x, right? So now you need to use a concept of the object and image are the same when we see the question say maps onto itself. All right, okay, so now we'll substitute the x into the function, and we'll substitute the image, which is hx equal to x. Got it? So when you see hx, you will substitute x. Why? Because the image is hx, and because we want the image also produce the same with the object, so x, so hx must be equal to x. All right, so 3x plus 1/2. Then if you solve it, you will get the answer for the x, that x is actually -1. So it means what? It means that if x is -1, you try to find the image. It's 3 times -1 plus 1/2. You are getting a -2/2, right? Which is -1. That means the -1 will bring the -1 to the image, which is -1. So it means that it maps onto itself. Okay, understand? So that is the meaning of the maps onto itself. So that if you understand, right? Okay, so now let's go to the next question. For this question is actually about the bell shape. So it's given the area is 0.3485. So normally we will try to find the balance of the area for the left side. So you can use 0.5 minus out 0.3485, and you will get the balance, the one that I highlight in yellow color. Okay, so if I find the area for the yellow color, I will take 0.5 minus 0.3485, right? So let's see how we are going to find the area for the remaining. Okay, again I highlight in green color, so you can plug into the calculator. You take 0.5 minus 0.3485. Okay, what is the area for the green area shaded in green color? Because the area shaded in red color is 0.3485, right? So now you must actually knew that the area representing probability value. So for the area to the right, that is actually half of the bell, right? If half of the bell, it means the area is 0.5, because the area for one whole bell is actually 1. Understand? So that means the area for the shaded region blue and red and the green should be equal to 1, because the area actually represent the probability value, right? So now let's understand the concept. So now this is 0.5, the blue shaded in blue color, and this one should be 0.5 minus 0.3485, or you can actually take 1 minus 0.5 minus 0.3485. Understand? Okay, so let's write down the area is actually 0.5 minus 0.3485. So if you press your calculator, you will get the area which is equivalent to, okay, so the balance, the green color region is actually 0.1515, right? Are you getting 0.1515? This is actually the area for the bell shape, or it also represents probability value. So now we need to go to the distribution table, normal distribution table, because we need to find the z-score if given the probability value, right? So if you are using the calculator, you can actually press the inverse, alright? So I think you can actually use the table, distribution table, but you must aware that the z-score is negative, right? So let's go to the distribution table. Can you see? So we are going to find the probability value, which is 0.1515. So okay, so I managed to scan through the probability value. There are so many, so let's find out where is 0.1515. so this is actually 0.2 something, right? So we have to actually search for 0.1 something first. Alright, so I can see there is 0.1 something. Now I can see they are actually 0.2 something, right? This one. Okay, let's find out the 0.1515. So you need to use a ruler, I guess, so that you won't miss out the probability value, which is 0.1515 will produce the z-score, which is, let's study the z-score is so small, right? So we use a ruler, we highlight like this. Okay, so then you will read the z-score. Okay, draw the line. Okay, that is the one that I bother draw the border is actually 0.1515. Can you see that? That is how we read the z-score if given the area or given the probability value. Okay, we have to look from the inside, then go to the border outside the probability value. And you see that 0.1515 will produce a z-score which is actually 1.03, right? Yes, it's 1.03. So after we read the z-score, we need to apply to the bell shape. Okay, be careful, it should be negative because the z-score is to the left, so we have to assign the negative on our own. So make sure you are aware when you do this type question. We managed to find the z-score which is a negative 1.03. So okay, the question is saying that the z-score is actually m, so we will actually write m is negative 1.03 because the m is the z-score, right? So and the m is to the left, so be very careful when you do the bell shape. So now we will need to find the x, right? X is actually a continuous random variable which is actually not the standard one, so we have to use the formula that connect the x and z. So the z-score is actually x minus mean over standard deviation, right? So we will substitute the mean given by the question, which is 78, over the standard deviation is 3, and must be equal to the z-score that just now we actually found out using the distribution table, which is negative 1.03, right? So then we just simplify the x. Okay, after we use the z-score which is negative, so the x will be 3 times negative 1.03 plus 78. So the x that we get will be less than 78. Alright, so it's 74.91. Okay, so we have solved this popular question. Alright, so let's proceed to the next question. Just now it was actually a bell shape, so the other one is actually the stick graph. Okay, it's one line followed by one line. It's discrete random variable. Alright, so means a variable is countable. So normally when we read the variable is actually np, so n is 3 and the p is k, right? P is a probability for the successful event. Okay, so we are going to use a formula to solve this. So because we are having the px equal to 3, right? Because if I read from the graph, I can get the value for px equal to 3, right? So you can choose the value that is easier for you to calculate. So I will use a formula 3c3, and then the p is actually the k, right? k3. P is the probability for successful event. Normally we use a small p, but here they use k, so k to the power of 3 and then 1 minus k to the power of 0, right? So we will actually solve because the px equal to 3 can be actually read from the graph. Okay, so you can substitute the probability x equal to 3, and then 3c3 is 1, right? So let's clear the space and write properly. So px equal to 3 is 3c3, and then the k3 and 1 minus k0, right? So the probability value that I circle for you is 64 over 729 is 1 times k cubed, and then 1 minus k0 is also 1. So that means k is cube root of 64 over 729, which is 4 over 9, right? This is actually part B. For part A, actually I think you know how to do. Total probability value is 1. So you just take 1 minus out the balance. Okay, so let's see question 24. A debating team consists of 4 members. The squad is chosen from 6 boys and 5 girls. So actually the question is asking find the number of ways that the debating team can be formed if there are no restrictions. So this is combination, right? So it's 11C4, which is 330. And then for part B, because the question want the equal number of boys and girls, so we need actually 2 boys and 2 girls, right? So it's you use the 6, okay, and C2 times with the 5C2. So the answer that you get will be 150, right? Okay, so this is quite simple. I guess you got no problem. So now let's discuss one more challenging question on trigo equation. Solve the equation of cotangent x equal to 2 cos x. So the moment you see cotangent is actually cosine x over sine x. Why? Because tangent x is sine x over cos x. You must remember this, okay? Because this is not given in the formula list. So cotangent x, you just inverse the tangent. So that means the cos will go up and sine go down. So because it's 1 over sine x over cos x, so cotangent x is cos x over sine x. Alright, so now whenever you see cotangent x, you will write cos x over sine x. So let's write cos x over sine x is equal to 2 cos x, right, over 1. So my advice to you is please do not cancel out the factor, because if you cancel out the cos x left and right, you divide by cos x, you are going to miss out 2 answer. So you're going to lose out 2 marks, okay? Because when cos x equal to 0, you have 2 values, you know. So please do not cancel out when you factorize for cosine for trigo. Okay, so you have 2 sine x cos x minus cos x equal to 0. So now you have to factorize the cos x, right? So cos x you factorize. So inside the bracket left 2 sine x minus 1 equal to 0. So you see the cos x is actually the factor, you know. So if you let cos x equal to 0 and another factor 2 sine x minus 1 equal to 0, so then you solve it. When cos x equal to 0, you know how to get the answer. You have to sketch a graph. Your calculator won't give you 2 answers. You have to sketch a graph. You see the cosine x function is actually having the value 0 at the x equal to where? Can you please memorize it? Okay, as x equal to 90 and 270, right? Because for cosine 0 is 1, cosine 360 is 1, cosine 180 is -1, cos 90 is 0, cos 270 is 0. That means when cos a value equal to 0, it actually got 2 answers, which is 90 and 270, right? There are 2 angles whereby the cos x will be 0, which is 90 and 270. And then for 2 sine x minus 1 equal to 0, so if you solve this equation, you will get sine x equal to 1 over 2. And don't forget, for every trigo equation you have 2 values. So when sine x equal to half, you should have 2 answers. X is actually 30 and 150 degree. But bear in mind that when you do trigo equation, always double check the range of the angle. It's very important, yes. Why? Because if the angle that you give is out of the range, then you will be minus mark. So it seems like 90 is okay, right? 30 is okay. 150 is still within the range, but 270 is out of the range. So 270 is a positive angle, right? So we need to work out the angle that is equivalent to 270, but it's actually lies between negative 180 degree to 180 degree, which is actually negative angle, right? So now you see, if I show you the angle, this is negative 180 degree, right? Okay, so the angle is always measuring up from x-axis, okay, and then anti-clockwise, like this is a positive angle. Remember, this is positive 180 degree. This is the downward is negative 180 degree. So if I want to find out positive 270 degree is equivalent to how many degree in terms of negative angle? So it should be negative 90 degree, isn't it? Yes, this is 270 and is equivalent to negative 90 degree. So hence I won't give my answer in 270. I will write my answer as negative 90 degree, because the instruction of the question asking for the range of the angle must be lies between negative 180 degree to positive 180 degree. So actually I have 4 answers. One of the answer is negative 90 degree, right? Okay, to represent 270, and the rest of the angle can be accepted. Hello guys, that's all for today's sharing. I really hope that my sharing do help you to improve your additional mathematics. Till then, I shall share with you more video in my next lesson. Bye bye and have a nice day.